God says, listen closely, my beloved soul, because the moment you paused here was not created by chance. There was no force pulling you, no fear stopping you, no pressure guiding your finger. There was only a quiet awareness inside you that said, stay. That awareness is gentle, but it is wise. It knows when your heart needs reassurance more than information, when your spirit needs calm more than answers. You did not arrive here randomly. You arrived because something within you recognized safety. This message is not here to demand anything from you. It is here to sit beside you, calmly and patiently, the way light rests on the horizon before sunrise. You have been moving through days that asked a lot of you, sometimes more than you felt ready to give, and yet you continued. That persistence matters. Even when no one applauded it, even when it felt invisible, it mattered. This moment is not about pushing forward. It is about letting your inner weight soften for a while. God says, you have been stronger than you realize, but strength without rest slowly turns into heaviness. That is why your soul recognized this message. Not because you are broken, but because you are ready to release tension you no longer need to carry. You are allowed to exhale here. You are allowed to stop bracing for the next thing. Nothing is chasing you in this moment. As you read, notice how the world feels slightly quieter, even if only inside you. That quiet is not emptiness. It is space. Space allows clarity to arrive without force. Space allows emotions to settle without being judged. You do not need to label what you are feeling. You only need to allow it to exist without resistance. God says, some of the questions you hold do not need immediate answers. They need patience. Patience is not passive. It is an active form of trust. It says, I will not rush my understanding before it is ready. That kind of trust protects your peace and keeps you aligned with what truly matters to you. You may have wondered at times whether you were falling behind, whether others were moving ahead while you stood still. But stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is preparation. It is where insight quietly forms, where awareness deepens, where direction becomes clearer without effort. You are not behind. You are aligning. God says, your worth has never depended on how quickly you arrive somewhere or how loudly your progress is seen. Your worth exists before effort and remains after struggle. Nothing you are carrying has changed that. Nothing you have questioned has weakened it. You are already enough, even in moments when you feel uncertain. Let this message settle without urgency. There is nothing you need to do with it yet. Simply allow it to be present, the way warmth rests on skin without needing explanation. This is not the end of the message. It is the beginning of a deeper calm, one that continues to unfold gently, at a pace your soul can receive. Stay here. Not because you must, but because you can. The message continues, and it carries no weight, only reassurance. God says, remain here for a little while longer, not because you are required to, but because your inner world is beginning to settle into a rhythm that feels familiar and safe. There is a difference between being still out of exhaustion and being still out of choice. What you are experiencing now is choice. You are choosing to listen beneath the surface of thought, beneath the constant commentary of the day, into a place where understanding does not rush you. As this message continues, you may notice that memories rise softly, not to disturb you, but to be acknowledged. They appear without sharp edges, without urgency. This is how healing attention works. It does not pull you backward. It simply allows the past to rest in its proper place, no longer demanding energy from the present. You are not asked to relive anything. You are only asked to recognize how far you have come. God says, growth is often quiet. It does not always feel like movement. Sometimes it feels like awareness expanding, like perception widening just enough for compassion to enter where judgment once lived. You have been learning compassion for others, but you are now learning compassion for yourself. This learning changes how you relate to everything else. You may find yourself less interested in proving things and more interested in understanding them. This shift is not withdrawal. It is maturity. Maturity does not need constant validation. It rests in its own sense of balance. From that balance, choices become clearer and lighter. God says, when the heart softens, the mind follows. Thoughts lose their sharp urgency and become more fluid. You are not losing focus. You are gaining perspective. Perspective allows you to see challenges without being consumed by them. It gives you the ability to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. As you continue reading, there is a sense of time stretching gently. Moments feel less compressed. This is not boredom. It is presence. Presence allows meaning to settle deeper than surface-level understanding. You are not skimming life. You are allowing it to meet you fully. God says, there is nothing wrong with you for needing reassurance. Needing reassurance means you care deeply about living with integrity and intention. Indifference does not seek reassurance. Awareness does. And awareness is a strength, even when it feels tender. You may have noticed that your inner dialogue has softened slightly. There is less self-correction, less mental tension. This is the beginning of trust returning to its natural place. Trust does not remove uncertainty. It makes uncertainty easier to carry without anxiety. God says, the questions you still hold are not obstacles. They are doorways. Doorways do not need to be forced open. They open when you are ready to step through them. Readiness is not measured by urgency. It is measured by steadiness. Steadiness allows you to stay present with what is unfolding instead of jumping ahead to conclusions. It allows patience to feel supportive rather than restrictive. You are learning how to let life reveal itself gradually, without pressure to predict its outcome. God says, there is a calm strength forming within you that does not rely on control. Control seeks certainty. Calm strength accepts process. Process is how wisdom forms. Wisdom does not shout instructions. It offers quiet guidance that feels aligned rather than imposed. As this part of the message deepens, notice how your body feels. There is less tension in the shoulders, less tightening in the chest, less urgency in the breath. This physical ease reflects internal alignment. When alignment returns, the body responds before the mind fully understands. God says, alignment is not perfection. It is coherence. It is the feeling that your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are moving in the same direction rather than pulling against each other. This coherence reduces fatigue and restores clarity. You are not expected to change anything immediately after this message. Integration takes time. Integration happens when understanding becomes part of how you move through the day, not something you consciously remember to apply. This message is planting that understanding gently. God says, let this awareness continue to unfold without interruption. There is no finish line you need to cross here. There is only a deepening sense of peace that supports you as you continue forward. Remain open. Remain present. The message continues, carrying the same calm, steady reassurance, preparing you for a natural and grounded completion. God says, as you continue to remain here, something deeper than thought is taking shape within you. This is not the kind of change that asks for attention or demands recognition. It is quieter than that. It is the kind of inner shift that rearranges how you feel about your life without you having to force anything at all. You are not being asked to become someone new. You are being reminded of who you already are beneath everything you have been carrying. You may begin to notice that your sense of urgency is softening. Things that once felt pressing no longer grip you as tightly. This does not mean they have disappeared. It means you are no longer letting them define your emotional state. When the soul regains its center, circumstances lose their power to disturb your inner balance. This is not avoidance. This is stability returning to its rightful place. God says, you have spent a long time listening outwardly, absorbing expectations, opinions, and unspoken pressures from the world around you. In doing so, you became very good at functioning, but less practiced at resting inwardly. This moment is not about learning something new. It is about remembering how to return to yourself without guilt. Rest is not something you earn after exhaustion. It is something you are allowed to claim before exhaustion takes over. As this message unfolds, your awareness may feel wider, less confined. Thoughts still arise, but they do not crowd each other. Emotions still move, but they do not overwhelm. This spaciousness is not accidental. It is what happens when resistance loosens. Resistance often masquerades as strength, but true strength is flexible, receptive, and calm. God says, flexibility allows growth without breaking. You have bent many times without realizing how resilient you are. Even when you felt uncertain, you continued. Even when clarity felt distant, you did not stop caring. That care is a form of devotion to your own becoming. It has guided you more than you know. You may find that old narratives about yourself no longer feel convincing. Stories of being behind, not enough, or misunderstood begin to lose their emotional charge. They may still exist as memories, but they no longer feel like truths you must carry. This is healing integration. It does not erase the past. It changes how the past lives within you. God says, integration is what allows peace to last. Temporary comfort fades quickly, but integrated understanding reshapes how you move through life. You are not here for momentary relief. You are here for lasting grounding. That grounding forms quietly, layer by layer, moment by moment. As you stay with this message, there is an invitation to trust your inner timing. Not everything is meant to be resolved immediately. Some things mature best when given space. Rushing insight often leads to shallow understanding. Allowing insight to arrive naturally leads to wisdom that stays with you long after words fade. God says, wisdom does not make life simpler. It makes it clearer. Clearer choices. Clearer boundaries. Clearer priorities. This clarity does not demand dramatic changes. It subtly influences how you speak, how you listen, how you decide, and how you rest. Over time, these subtle shifts create profound transformation. You may sense a quiet confidence forming, not the loud confidence of certainty, but the steady confidence of trust. Trust in your ability to navigate uncertainty. Trust in your capacity to adapt without losing yourself. Trust in the fact that you do not need to control every outcome to be okay. God says, control often comes from fear of loss, but trust comes from knowing that what truly matters cannot be taken from you by circumstance alone. Your values, your depth, your capacity for reflection and compassion remain intact regardless of external change. This realization frees energy that was once spent on worry and redirects it toward presence. Presence is what allows life to feel meaningful. Again. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are fully engaged with what is real rather than what is imagined. Imagined futures often create anxiety. Present awareness creates steadiness. You are learning to return to this steadiness more easily now. As this part of the message deepens, allow yourself to stay unhurried. There is no climax being rushed toward. There is only a gradual settling into clarity that feels honest rather than forced. You do not need to hold on to every sentence. What matters is the state of calm awareness that remains with you as you continue. God says, this calm is not fragile. It does not depend on silence, isolation, or perfect conditions. It is resilient. It can accompany you back into movement, conversation, and decision-making without dissolving. That is how you know it is real. Remain with this feeling of grounded presence. Let it continue to unfold naturally. The message has not finished shaping what it came to offer. It is preparing you for a gentle completion, one that arrives without pressure, without demand, and without fear. God says, now that you have stayed this far, understand something quietly but clearly, nothing brought you here except alignment. Not urgency, not fear, not pressure, not coincidence. Alignment is gentle. It does not grab attention. It waits until the heart is ready to listen without defending itself. That readiness is present in you now. You did not force it. You allowed it. That allowance is what changes everything that follows. You may feel as though something has settled into place without you being able to name it. That is because the deepest shifts do not always announce themselves with emotion or certainty. They arrive as stability. They arrive as the absence of inner resistance. They arrive as the feeling that you no longer need to rush away from yourself. This is not the end of a message. This is the beginning of a different way of moving through your days. God says, you have spent much of your life preparing without realizing it. Preparing your heart through patience. Preparing your mind through reflection. Preparing your spirit through endurance. Even moments that felt unproductive were shaping your capacity to hold what comes next without being overwhelmed. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was accidental. Everything contributed to your readiness in ways you could not measure at the time. As this message reaches its natural completion, notice that there is no command being given to you. There is no instruction demanding action. That is intentional. When direction is forced, it creates anxiety. When direction arises naturally, it creates confidence. Confidence does not push you forward aggressively. It supports you quietly from within. God says, what unfolds next in your life will not require you to abandon who you are. It will ask you to trust who you are. Trust does not eliminate uncertainty. It allows uncertainty to exist without controlling your emotions. This balance is what allows unexpected good to arrive without disrupting your peace. You may have been taught to believe that important moments must feel intense or dramatic. That belief often causes people to overlook the most meaningful shifts because they arrive calmly. Calm does not mean insignificant. Calm often signals that something is aligning smoothly rather than forcefully. Smooth alignment lasts longer. God says, you are not standing on the edge of loss. You are standing within understanding. Understanding does not always change circumstances immediately. It changes how you carry them. When how you carry something changes, its weight changes too. That is what has happened here. You are allowed to leave this message without urgency. You do not need to hold on to every word. What matters is the state of clarity and steadiness you take with you. This steadiness will show itself later in how you respond rather than react, how you listen rather than assume, how you pause rather than rush. God says, you are supported in ways that do not need to be proven. Support does not always appear as solutions. Sometimes it appears as resilience, discernment, and calm presence. These qualities ensure that when opportunities appear, you are able to receive them without fear or self-doubt. As you move forward, remember that you do not need to chase reassurance. You can return to it by returning to yourself. Stillness is always available to you, even in movement. Peace is not a destination you reach. It is a way of traveling. This message does not close a door. It opens a quieter understanding. One that continues beyond this moment, beyond this screen, into how you live and choose and trust. Carry that understanding lightly. Let it guide you without pressure. God says, remain patient with yourself. Growth continues even when you are not watching it happen. What is meant for you does not require force. It arrives when alignment is complete. You are closer to that alignment than you realize. Gentle closing, CTA, only here. If this message brought calm, clarity, or reassurance into your heart, take a moment to like and share so this peace can reach someone else who may need it today. If you wish to continue receiving messages like this, subscribe, and comment Amen to affirm this sense of trust, balance, and quiet alignment within you. If this message resonated with your soul, don't forget to like and share so this divine energy reaches more hearts. Subscribe now for daily spiritual messages and comment Amen to affirm your faith and blessings.